Okay, we're live. Welcome to this week's live stream. The topic, as you probably have already seen, today is about streamlining content operations using flows in Crystallize. We've been doing a series on flows the last weeks, and again, I'm lucky to have with me Vasil here from, leading the front-end team at Crystallize.
Hi everyone, I'm happy to join Bård today for this session.
And basically, let's just jump right into the nitty-gritty here, because what we basically want to achieve with this stream is putting manual processes in control with automatic processes, so that you can interact with AI or automation, translation, scheduling, what have you, but to have editorial control over it, so that you can have approvals and still manual control, and not just automate everything. And I suggest we start with a simple example, Vasil.
Yeah, let's do that.
Because what do we have here?
Yeah, how about starting with a flow that we've seen? It's something that is quite used, and our users quite often get to this kind of flows, like the product approval flow, right? Yeah. So this is a flow usually that affects more mainly products, right? Where the contributors, they can create the product, then it needs to go through some kind of approval before it's published. This is something quite normal, and we've seen that people are using it quite a lot.
Yeah. Could be legal checks, right? If you're doing medical devices, or have to get the third party to approve it if you're a contributor and creating a new product that is going to be populated. So it's quite a simple process. It's just a one-step approval.
Yeah. So what is kind of the idea here is that we have a contributor in this case where the contributor works on a product, then sends the product to a draft stage of the flow. And after it's approved by somebody else or by AI, or it could be anything, right? Then eventually it's going to get published. And these are exactly the three stages here that we're seeing on this product approval flow.
Yeah. So how would this work then? Let's say I'm the contributor and I would like to contribute something.
Yeah. Great. You know what? I'm prepared. I have a user who is a contributor actually, and we can use it. So what you see here on the screen with the browser with the Crystallize cyan color here, right? This is the tenant admin, and this is the person who is actually managing the flow and creating the flows and assigning rows. And so this is the person with the full access to the platform. And on the other hand, I have this user, which is with the darker color here on the browser, as you can see on my screen. And this is our contributor. This is the person, as you can see here on the left side on the menu. The person has just access to a few things that are needed for this row. So this here is our actually product contributor. So I have this product. Maybe we can try to send this one to the product approval flow and see how that's going to work, right?
Yeah. Because if you do a change here now, just to show that, just add a...
I'm going to add something here. Yeah. Actually, I cannot publish it. See, this publish button is disabled, even though I can save. As you can see here, when we're removing something, we update, we save the current state of the product, but we cannot publish it.
But how will you be able to get this published then?
The only way is actually to send it to a product approval flow, right?
Yeah.
And to do that, here on the action menu here at the top, we can select send to a flow. And we can, as you can see, we have just the product contributor at the moment has access to just one flow, which is the product approval, and one stage only, which is draft. So everything is just pre-selected for us. We can send it straight away. Should we do that?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So over here, then I will go to the product approval flow, and I see here that this is where my item landed in the draft stage. So now it's just staying there. And you know what? I'll try to be a nasty product contributor and try to move it. I cannot really move it. I cannot drag it to any other stage. I cannot really get it out of this stage.
So you're not able to approve yourself. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, somehow I'm not really allowed to do anything with this. I can just look at it until it's in the draft stage, and that's it. Shall
So
we?
how would you get it out then?
Let's maybe go back to our tenant admin, the person with the full access to the platform, right?
Yeah.
And let's say that I'm the person who is approving it, and to approve it, I will just move it to the approved stage over here.
Yeah.
And as you can see, the item was just moved to published, because once it lands into the approved stage,
Yeah.
then we can transition it straight to the published stage.
Because the approved stage here was an automatic publish and move action, so that you don't have to go in and edit and send the manual. You can just move one or multiple items to an approval state, right?
Yeah, through that. And then
Nice.
if I go back to the product contributor, as you can see, my item is in a published stage,
Yeah.
which is exactly what I wanted to do. But first, it required the approval.
Yeah. So that's one stage approval workflow. But how do you set this up?
Yeah, and this is actually the new exciting part that I would like to talk a little bit more about it today. So we extended our roles and permissions, and we added some new things here that allow you to kind of manage flows in this way.
Mhm.
So what you see here on my screen, and this is again with the tenant admin row here, right? This is the person with the full access. We have the contributor row.
Yeah.
And the first thing maybe you notice here is that for the catalog, or this is the tree here, I don't have the publish and delete permissions, right? And you saw that the contributor on the other screen wasn't really able to publish the product because the button was disabled. I didn't have any actually permission to do that.
Yeah.
So this is the first step. And this is something that we had from before, right? So this is not new, but kind of important to mention.
Well, it's important for the setup, right? That you set
Yeah.
a role. They're not able to delete or publish, but they're able to create.
Yes.
So that's what you want to achieve. And
Yeah.
then what's the magic connection then?
Then the magic connection comes with the flow permission over here at the bottom, where we added actually a complete new permission, which is API permission. So it's respected on the server as well,
Yep.
which is called transition. And the transition permission affects only how we work with the items in the flow. So the transition permission doesn't affect the flow itself. If we can create it, update, remove stages, add stages, and all of that, it just affects the way that we can either move items to our stage or move items out of a stage.
Yeah.
So the contributor row in this case has read permission. So the big diamond, this is the read permission, right? So the contributor can see the flows, and then the only thing that can do with the flows is to move items in the flows, and that's everything.
And of course, you have a summary of the permissions on the right-hand side, as usual, where you see flows, read, and transition.
And here comes also something that I think is quite exciting, and this is kind of already gives like the full control over the permissions, and these are the UI preferences. So this is exactly what the row is getting to see in the browser, like in the app. And if you remember earlier, I mentioned that the user has, the contributor has access to just one flow, and this is the product approval flow. As you can see, this is the only flow that is kind of visible, right, with the eye open. And all the other flows that we have, the contributor is not allowed to see, or they're not needed, or it could be any reason, right?
So you're able to lock down specific flows to specific roles, basically.
Yeah. And then from here, we can go even one step further. And if I click on the product approval flow, you get to see actually here that we have all the 3 stages in that flow, which is the draft, approval, and published, with a bunch of other additional permissions. So
and again, this is the flow that you've created, a product approval with draft, approve, and publish are the stages in that flow.
Yeah, exactly. That this is all the stages that they are in the flow.
Yeah.
And here we have these 3 type of permissions that we can do. Can transition in, and this is exactly what we saw. We allow the product contributor to actually move an item, kind of think of it like from outside to the flow into the flow, into this stage. But we are not allowing we don't allow the user to actually move the item out of the flow. And if you remember in the beginning, I showed that I tried to drag it, but that didn't really work because the user doesn't have permission. And the same repeats for the other stages. So the only thing that the user can do here is just really move items into the draft stage, and from there, like other processes are taking into place before it really gets to the last stage.
And a comment there is, if you would like the contributor to be able to remove things from draft, for example, removed from the flow because they made a mistake, you could have the transition out permission, and then it allows them to transition it out, but not into any of the other stages, but you will be able to drop it to remove it from the flow, right? So if you want this, call it undo safety, you would enable that. But in this case, we're quite strict, so we don't want to do that.
Yeah. And here further, what we can do, again, we can hide stages from the row, right? If we decide that the approval stage, for example, is not important, we can hide it again with the I here. And then the row that is the user that is consuming this row is not going to see that stage, and is not going to see what items are in there and everything. So we can just focus on really what's important for the user.
Yeah. Let's take it
that's kind of the whole magic behind the flows and the permissions and the new exciting things that actually we added.
Let's take it one step further. Because very often, so this is approval, that's fine, but often these days you're interacting with different services. So it could be translation, enrichment, image generation, taxonomy generation, price updates, a lot of different steps that you can automate. And let's start by let's do a new flow, and let's just call it automate, right? So let's do a flow called automate. And let's think, because we start with just the same thing. It's a draft state where I, as a contributor, can send something in. And basically, what you can add then is another step where, let's say AI enrichment. So you send something to AI, maybe you have some basic master data you want to enrich with, I don't know, classification, storytelling, what have you. We did an example of that last week that you can take a look at, the stream together with Plantation, how they do exactly this. And enrichment, and then let's do...
Should I add an action to move it to the AI?
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's advance it, because not that one, but for AI enrichment, let's do it.
To move it to the next one. Okay, yeah, I can fix that.
Yeah, because the goal here is to have, okay, there is automation here, but somebody needs to kick it off, somebody with the proper authority. And let's do another one, which is AI translate. And as with any stage change, it will fire off webhooks that you can integrate with your service level. And then once it's done, you can move to the next step. And here we advance this one also.
Yeah.
Let's create a new step and call this, let's say, automation done. So this is kind of like a verification step. So we don't do any automatic moving here. But let's do another step where we call it approve.
Proof.
And the thinking here is that let's do an automatic publish and then advance again on the approve step. So similar to what we did in the, I would do the advance on the other one.
On the other one, yeah. Okay.
And again, because we want this advance to be a manual process here. Following that, we want to have an automation of the publish, and then let's just do a last step, which says published, right?
Published. Yeah.
Okay, let's briefly recap here, because what have we done now? So we have a new flow, and it's called automate, and it's got a first step, which allows users to add items into the draft stage, but nothing really happens. And then somebody has to actively move it into AI enrichment, followed by AI translate, and then automation is done. Here we just advance it. You would typically have the integration layer advance it with an API call, but just for demo purposes. You just listen to the webhooks, do the translation, move it when translation and enrichment is done. And then it gets stuck in this automation done step, right?
Yeah.
Nothing happens other than it sends notifications, of course, because you listen to the webhooks that are fired. And then we have the last stage for approve. This is pretty much the same pattern as what we did with the simple approval. So just injected some automation steps in between.
Yeah.
So pretty common pattern these days from what we see. So if you create this guy, then how would we then now we need to lock down some permissions. That's our goal, right?
Yeah. So let's go back to permissions, contributor.
Yep.
And on flows, UI preferences, automate is over here. I will enable it for the contributor.
Yep.
And here, what should we do now? So we want to allow.
Yeah, let's think. Should we allow moving in and out of draft? I mean, so that they can have the undo possibility.
Yeah, let's allow that. So this will leave as it is.
Yeah. And then
we'll disable all of these permissions, right? Because the user should not be allowed to actually move it in and out of any of those.
Yeah, but we want to keep the eyes there so that they can watch it and see where it is in the process, right?
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Should I update the row? Do I give the permissions?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Cool. Okay. Maybe we should send some item now and see what's going to happen there, right?
Let's try.
To try it. Cool. As you can see here, the automation flow immediately popped. Actually, this is the contributor again with the dark sign color. And currently it's quite empty, so nothing in here. What we can do from here, we can go to our products and grab some product.
Yeah.
How about this one? Should we send it to our automation flow and see how that's going to work? Again, no public permission. So the only thing that is left for me is to send to a flow. This time I have the two flows, but we want to send it to automate. And the only available stage that the user can have access to is the draft stage. So this is pre-selected.
Yep.
And I'm going to send it. So this is now sent. And if I go to the automate flow, I see the item immediately popped here on the screen.
Nice. But you're not able to do anything else. Or you can drop it out, right?
I can drop it here.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing. Yeah.
As we said, if you want to undo your sending to automation flow, you can do that. Since we did the transition out permission also.
Yeah, allowed that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cool. Should we simulate the AI work here, something like behind the scene, and move it to the next stage, maybe?
Sounds like a good plan.
Let's do that. Cool. So here with my tenant admin row, I will go to flows, automate, and I see the table here.
Yeah.
So I will drag this manually to the first AI enrichment step, right?
Basically where you maybe check, okay, this looks good, I trust them, and then you move it to automation. Automation was quick.
Done.
Yeah.
Quite quickly.
Yeah.
Cool. And then maybe, so here, this is the stage where actually it's waiting, right? It's waiting for the webhooks, as you said, for some external action to actually know that the automation is done. Yeah. Then it can move it to the next stage. I can simulate that again.
So, or I can approve it because I also have permission to do that.
Oh, yeah.
What happens then if I approve it?
Let's see. I'm curious now. Ooh, it just moved to published. Great.
Exactly. So, which is kind of neat, so that you basically can have a group of contributors, you can have a group of approvers or editors, and you can also interact with automation here, so that you can set up a flow that works for you. Again, check the live stream we did last week with Plantation, where we show some actual production workflows, so it's a good example. And it's pretty quick to set up this this automation as we did now. Now we just need to hook it to whatever enrichment services you would like to have. And it allows you again to optimize your content operations, right? Because you can both have manual processes, as in Vasil decides, okay, this is good enough to start the automation. And then once it's done, you also want to check, did the automation created at the level that we expect? Maybe you want to do a final touch up or change some hallucinations or whatever if you use AI services, right? You want to keep an eye on it, depending on, of course, what you're doing. So that's basically it for today. You can check it out already in a Crystallize tenant near you. Feel free to reach out to us on comments here, or of course in our Slack community, where you have the full team and a bunch of other people. We will do another one next Thursday. So if you want to get the notification and see what that topic will be, you can subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube, and follow us if you are watching on LinkedIn. And on that, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.
Thank you. Bye.